Hello everyone, Jules here. Today I'd like to talk about some tarot books that would be good for beginners or general tarot books that can be quite useful. And the first one is the new Tarot Handbook by Rachel Pollack. And this is a really good handy guide, and it's also a very good beginner's tarot book. It's very compact and it's got all of the basics that you need to understand the tarot and to read the tarot. So I think if I had to recommend just one book as an all-round handy and relatively easy guide, it would be the new Tarot Handbook by Rachel Pollack. And this is quite easy to get. It's been published in recent years by Llewellyn, and so this is quite an easy book to get. But I think this is the best book that I can recommend for people who are learning the tarot. So this is the new Tarot Handbook by Rachel Pollack. And one other thing I wanted to say about this book too is for each of the major arcana cards, there is a spread for each of the major arcana cards. So I think that is really useful as a handy book for other experienced readers as well. So I really like this book. The next one is called Step by Step Tarot by Terry Donaldson. And Terry Donaldson has written quite a few books on the tarot. And I think this book is still available, otherwise you could get this on Amazon. And I think it's published by HarperCollins. And this is a really good general guidebook as well. I think it's really useful for people who are learning the basics of tarot, and I think there are some basic spreads in the back of this book as well. Yes, there's a few easy basic spreads in here as well, but I like the way that the book has been set out, and I think it's a good general guide as well. I think it would also be a reasonably good book for a beginner as well. So this is Step by Step Tarot by Terry Donaldson. And this one, regardless of the cover, it's actually got black and white pictures of the Morgan Greer tarot deck for people who would like to know that. The next book, Tarot Unveiled, The Method to Its Magic by Clarson. This one is illustrated, and I think it was meant to be a general guide to the Hanson-Roberts deck. So that's why there's the Hanson-Roberts extra card on the cover. It's got black and white illustrations of the Hanson-Roberts deck in here. It's a really good general guide and a good beginner's book as well. So I'm not sure if this one is still in print, but you would get this one on Amazon. And I'm pretty sure it was published by U.S.Games. And this has got some very simple spreads in here, as well as all of the basic meanings to the cards. So this is another good general guidebook, and for people who would like a book with black and white pictures of the Hanson-Roberts deck, it's quite a good one. So Tarot Unveiled, The Method to Its Magic by Clarson. Now this next book, Tarot for the Curious Spirit by Venn-Lever. This book was published in recent years. I really like this book. It's a good general tarot book, so it would be good for a beginner. But I found it really interesting because it's got some views and ideas in here that are a little bit different. And I just found it a bit of a different approach to tarot. It's slightly different to the usual type of approach to tarot. And I like this book because it's got a bit of everything in here. It actually approaches some topics in here that are sometimes left out of a lot of other general books. And I like the idea that some of the points mentioned in the book are actually covered in the book, because I think there's a lot of people who get some basic and general guidebooks to tarot, and they might have a few other questions that they may not be able to find in another book, or they may not be able to find out a good answer from somewhere else. So I think this book is really good for that. And I think it's got an appropriate title, Tarot for the Curious Spirit, because I think for people who are probably a bit more curious than usual about tarot, that's probably why this book does cover some areas or some questions that are not in other books. So I really like this book for the approach that's in here. So Tarot for the Curious Spirit by Venn-Lever. The next one is a workbook, a tarot workbook. And I got this quite a long time ago. It's for quite a popular tarot. It is the Mythic Tarot Workbook. And I used this book a lot when I first learnt tarot. I think it was published in the mid-90s. It might be difficult to get now. Again, you might get this on Amazon. It's by Juliet Sharman-Burke. And it really is a workbook. I really enjoyed this book, and I used it very often to learn the tarot, basically. I actually did not have this first version of the Mythic Tarot when I had this book. I was actually getting a general idea of tarot using this book, because I was mainly working with the Waite-Smith deck to begin with. But because I was really interested in the mythic stories, I really liked this book. And the reason why I did not have the original Mythic Tarot was only because I found I could not quite relate, or didn't quite like the art for the first Mythic deck. And I actually prefer what they call the new Mythic Tarot. I prefer that artwork. But I still really liked this book, and it really is a workbook. There are black and white pictures of all the cards in here with the information, and there is blank lines and room in the book to write information and notes that you want to take at the time when you're working with the book. So I actually worked through this book using a pencil, and I just really enjoyed using this book. So for people who have the Mythic Tarot, or like me, who are interested in the Greek myths and they want to learn more about the Greek myths in regard to tarot, this is quite a good book. So the Mythic Tarot Workbook by Juliet Sharman-Burke, and if you can get this on Amazon, it's worth getting. And the last book I really like is called Tarot Basics by Evelin and Johannes Fiebig. And it is a good tarot basics book. This book should still be in print. And what I like about this one, what I find is different about this one, is all the way through the book, for all of the cards, it shows a comparison between the Thoth deck, the Waite-Smith and the Marseille. Every page is illustrated. All the pages for all the cards are illustrated like this. And for people who would like a comparison of the cards, it's very interesting, and it's very useful. I found it very useful when I was first learning and comparing the three different systems. So I started with the Marseille system, and I coincided that with the Waite-Smith deck. And I was sort of learning those two together, not using them at the same time, but part of my time was divided between the two decks. And then much later on, I learnt about the Thoth. But for people who would like to compare the cards, it is very interesting, and it's the only book I have ever seen that compares the three types of decks and also using coloured pictures. You can sometimes find a book that has black and white pictures of the three systems. I can only think of one other just now, and it's not an easy book anyway. But to have all three systems of decks in one book with coloured pictures for all of the cards is very useful. So I quite like this book, Tarot Basics by Evelin and Johannes Fiebig, and they have written quite a number of tarot books. And they have done that also for the Major Arcana as well. It's all of the cards through the book. Okay, so there are some of my general and beginner tarot book recommendations, and I'll put all the details below the video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.